Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes, episode 202, Iron Trap Garage. All right, folks, hello and welcome to episode 202 of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. I'm your host, Royboy from RoyboyProductions.com. That's a website where you can find all the hot rod and custom car show photos I take for you all over the country. I put them all in that one place. There's about 100,000 images there. There's articles on cars. There's articles on tons of different car shows and rod runs and drag races and some interviews with people. Plus, that's the home of this podcast. That's where you can find all the Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes episode. Now, if you're a Patreon subscriber, right now you probably are watching the video, at which point you're seeing me talking, and also I got a little slideshow of some cool cars going next to me, because, you know, that's more interesting than my face. So, anyways, that's what's going on the Patreon side, and if you want to check that out, just go over to Patreon and look up for Royboy Productions, and you'll find that. For as little as $1 a month, you get to see the video version of this podcast, and you'll also get to help me, pay the bills so I can keep this thing going, because without that, I honestly can't keep Royboy Productions going on. So, especially when pandemic times, there's no car shows to go to, there's no photos to take, there's no photos to sell, and it becomes very difficult to keep everything rolling. Enough with that. Let's get on to the podcast. This episode's really cool. I had a really good time talking with Matt from Iron Trap Garage, Matt Murray, actually the second Matt Murray I know. Odd, there's two car guys, both Matt Murrays. Very cool. Anyways, this one's from Pennsylvania, from Iron Trap Garage on YouTube. And you need to check out his YouTube channel, but only after you listen to this podcast. I'll catch you on the flip side. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, man, I've been watching the YouTube channel for a while, and I just today actually went back and looked and saw, when was your first video put up? It looked like 4 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. 4 or 5 years ago, we started actually putting out made a proper YouTube channel and, started documenting the stuff in video form.
So you were probably making some before that, but it wasn't part of this channel. It was just video and stuff here and there? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I worked for Eastwood for 11 years, and I was doing, obviously doing video for them, and I was sneaking in my own projects, doing, hot rod projects and custom stuff and, whatever else. So I was doing that for quite a while, and obviously documenting on social media all my personal stuff. And then we kind of decided to, take the leap to YouTube and start documenting even more on YouTube, and here we are.
Have you noticed the same thing that I noticed, that, oh, man, I'm going to do this. This is cool. And then 6 months later, like, man, my camera sucks. My microphone sucks. I got to buy new this, new that. It's really easy. Just like in the garage, it's easy to all of a sudden tool yourself out of any fun, because you just have to keep buying new tools to make it better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the nice thing is my best friend, Mike, he kind of came to me and was like, dude, we need to do a YouTube channel. Like, you're always doing all this crazy stuff all the time and running around and building stuff. And he's like, I can't even keep up with it. And I stop over once a week. So he's kind of like the techie guy. So like, he gets into he does all the editing, and he gets into the technical aspects. So like, I'm not real big. I mean, I like this stuff, but like, he's up on like, all right, we got to get a better lens, because that lens kind of sucks.
You can nerd out on engines, and he can nerd out on resolution of his camera or whatever.
Yeah. We slowly upgraded. Yeah, we started with just a little point and shoot that Mike already had. We used that for a little while, and then we stepped up to a digital SLR camera, and now we got multiple cameras, multiple lenses, a drone, 3 or 4 GoPros. We got a whole, all kinds of crazy stuff. So
yeah, if you don't watch yourself, all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's gonna take me 10 minutes to set up to do this 2-minute thing.
Yes.
You need, sometimes that cool shot is worth it. So, where did the name Iron Trap Garage come from?
So I mean, before I even did the YouTube channel, we all kind of like make a social media username. So a number of years ago, I made a name, and basically I was kind of like looking around for something interesting, and I came upon, I don't even know how I came upon it, but Iron Trap is basically like a medieval term for like a torture device or a trap you cannot get out of. It's inescapable. So that to me instantly made me think of this hobby, because I know so many like guys that take this to the grave, as I'm sure you do. So
yeah.
it never goes away. So that's what this old car and motorcycle thing is it's an iron trap. You cannot get out of it. You just get into it and it takes over your whole life forever and ever.
Exactly. So you mentioned Eastwood. So the news came out about a week ago that you were moving on from a full-time position there. Will you still be apparently doing some product videos here and there?
Yeah. I mean, basically it just got to be where we were doing okay. I mean, I'm not by any means rich. I was just like, okay, I think I can eat and I think I can pay the bills. I want to play with hot rods every day, all day. So basically, I made the jump, and Eastwood has been very supportive over the years. And we were able to work out a contract where, I'm going to still be doing some promotional stuff for their products, doing some product videos, and just helping them out a little bit. And then, they're still supporting me as well with products and different stuff. So it's really nice. I mean, it was just kind of a mutual thing that just worked out really, really great. And hopefully I can continue working with them for a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of become a trusted voice in their brand, so it makes sense to them, for them just to keep it going and continue that on, so people aren't like just, well, where's Matt? Yeah. I think it's. I mean, over the years I've been, and sometimes it probably was a little frustrating for them, but I've been very, very steadfast on. I only really wanted to do videos on products that I used in my own shop, and I didn't want to, I kind of focused on doing the stuff just like I do on the channel. So there was a lot of, there was butting of heads over the years where they wanted me to do things. And I said, look, I just don't want to do that stuff. And the longer I was there, the more I could kind of put my foot down. Right. So luckily they put up with my crap for 11 years. Well, it seemed like a pretty cool fit for you over the years. I mean, I kind of, I think we touched base first about me providing some photos to Eastwood's website of Lone Star Roundup a few years ago. And kind of lost track of you over the years. And all of a sudden I'm watching this YouTube channel one day and I just, put two and two together. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know him, but I know who that is. Okay. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, that was the same thing with Ryan on the hand. Like, I'd been dealing with Ryan for years through Eastwood, and I was, I handled a lot of sponsorships, so I was, helping the ham out by giving a nice discount on the, alliance and stuff. Right. And then there was a bunch of these, Ryan actually did a thread about our channel, like on the homepage, and just saying very nice things, and he watched the channel and thought it was cool and blah blah blah. And then people were like commenting. He's like, "Wait, holy shit, that's Matt from Eastwood. Oh my god, I thought he was cool." So so it's kind of funny. I'm just like super low key. I never during this whole process, I've never been like pushy about it. Like, so I never posted on the ham like self promotion because I just didn't want to be that guy. So I just let it kind of quietly build, and all of a sudden people are like, "Wait, that's the same person," or that's whatever. So it was kind of a good way to do it. I didn't want to be too pushy or salesy or any, I just didn't want to be like spamming the ham with our videos every day. So I let people find it, and if they thought it was cool, they would post it themselves. Yeah,
for years I posted all of my car show coverage there, and at some point I was like, if you're not already subscribing by this point, I feel like I'm just spamming the website with the photos. So
right.
A bunch of my friends every once in a while are like, hey, did anybody go to this show? Oh, I think Royboy has pictures of that, and they post a link to it. I'm like, cool, that saves me from feeling a little dirty doing it, It's like, enough about me. But
yeah.
So I went back this afternoon, and I did watch your very first video that's on the channel. And I got to say, you've added quite a bit of decoration in the shop since then. The walls were pretty bare on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much started the channel the winter after I moved in, basically. So, I mean, I obviously had a lot of stuff already, but I was in like a 3-car garage, and then you go into like a 2,000 square foot building. It doesn't seem like a lot, but then when you have space, then you just start collecting and buying and growing, and now I don't even know where the hell to put anything. I'm like, it's out of control.
Well, yeah, you had to wait for winter to break just now, right? To pull one car out and move another car around. So in the old days, I've been like, just slide it over here. We got plenty of room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now I got cars like stashed in storage and wherever. So it's pretty crazy.
So you've done a lot over the years, but I'm watching you're up to 93,000 subscribers on there. You hit that 100K, they give you a prize for YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, I think they give you some kind of like Gold Star or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not sure what it is, but I mean, I've always been like really big. I don't really pay attention a lot to that. I mean, it's cool, but like I've always said, it's better if you're how engaged the people are. If everybody's telling you suck and you have 100,000 followers, like that doesn't mean anything. So, I mean, it seems like people dig what we're doing. So, you know, whether we have 1 million followers or 100,000 or 1,000, I'm still doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think my other computer keeps going dark here, so if you're watching the video, you keep seeing my face go dark. You know, as you've grown that whole thing, is it something where you felt like you've learned even more towards your former job at Eastwood from doing your own YouTube channel, or kind of running? I'm assuming you're running both channels, theirs and yours, for a while there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started out at Eastwood, I was the only guy doing pretty much all the social. I wasn't editing videos, but about a year in, they hired a video guy, and then eventually, years went on, they had a whole video crew. So, but I was managing like all the social media for a number of years. So like, it was pretty crazy. But I mean, that kind of gave me a head start on starting our stuff, and I already kind of knew how to navigate everything. So it definitely helped us grow, get everything going a lot more quickly. And
so for the folks who might not know, and I'm pleasantly surprised by some of the older guys I know that are they're watching videos on YouTube. I showed my dad how to watch YouTube videos on his TV, and now he doesn't watch basically anything but YouTube. So for those who don't know, Iron Trap Garage is the name of the channel there, and you've got 6 or 8 cars in the shop at any given time, and you're just working on different projects. And then you also go and do you go find some crazy barn find kind of stuff here and there. Was the Roadster from Detroit, was it 2 or 3 months ago you pulled that one out of there, or was it longer than that?
I think it's been longer. It was I think it was
fall. It was right
November,
before,
maybe. Yeah,
before going down to swap meet, Moultrie, Georgia.
Yeah. So it might have even been October, but yeah, I mean it's pretty much what all of us do. I do it. I'm a little more ridiculous about it, but we're always, you're hunting for cars or you're hunting for parts, and then you're working on the car, and then all that. So we document all that, and I have a bunch of projects going at one time. Definitely with the channel, I try and spread it out even more, because not everybody likes a Roadster. Some guys like a 47 Ford, or some guys want a down and dirty, just basic driver type project they want to watch. So pulling stuff out of junkyards and just doing just enough to make it drivable and have fun with it, on a low budget is kind of fun. So I do have a lot of projects, but they're all kind of a little different in their own way.
Yeah, and see, that Roadster was once owned by the Delorean brothers.
Yeah, it was Jack Delorean. It was owned by. So there's 3 brothers, and Jack Delorean went to California to visit family, and he was looking for a 32 Roadster. And he found it on one of those used hot rod or custom car lots in LA area.
That'd be cool if it still existed everywhere.
I know, it'd be so awesome. So he bought it, and he drove it, he tried driving it home, and it was overheating because it had no fan, and it was set up for the dry lakes. Okay. And then, long story short, he eventually borrowed money from John Delorean, his brother John, to have it towed home, because he couldn't get all the way home back to Detroit. So Jack's brother George in the Detroit area, was a really famous engine builder and drag racer back in the day. So George actually built a hot flathead for him, and he used to run around with this full house flathead racing guys on Woodward Ave back in the 50s. Yeah. So so I'm really excited to have it. We're actually leaving Thursday or Friday. I'm going back to that property to take the lift that the car was sitting on. So I'm gonna go back, get the lift, and bring it back here, and then we're going to clean it up and then put it in my shop and actually use that lift again. Oh, cool. That was an interesting process, watching you guys get that thing down. I mean, that, for the folks who haven't seen it yet, the garage it was in has, the roof is almost non-existent in some areas, and there's just been lots of time happening to these cars. I mean, it's just not been, it's not completely out in nature, but it wasn't enclosed by any stretch of the imagination. So it was interesting watching you guys get that car out of there. And that one's got such a cool story to it. And some of the other cars you've picked up at estate sales and auctions over the years,
what do you think you find more interesting? The cool car itself, or the story behind it, or where it came from? Is there anything that piques your interest most of all that?
Yeah, I think usually to me it is the story, like, it's the story or where I found it, or any of that stuff is what I've always kind of been that way. Like I don't want to just own a Model A Roadster. I want to own one that has a neat story to it, so it makes it more fun to build. So as the years have gone on and I've been finding better stuff, now I'm getting more like really crazy about finding stuff that has a neat story or a neat whatever. So it makes it a lot more fun to find the history or find old photos and then try and build the car around what it looked like, or whatever. So that's just really fun for me.
Yeah. I've got a buddy here in Kansas that he basically restores and builds from scratch vintage dragsters, front engine dragsters. And for a lot of them, there's some pictures that were in a magazine, and in the 60s and the 50s, the pictures in magazines weren't all that good, so he's blowing this little picture up and trying to scale something off of it to see where he needs to put this bend in the body or whatever. And that part it's almost like a Indiana Jones kind of thing for me. It's just that kid that watched that movie is totally into hearing all the history of all this stuff. Like, oh, well, see what they did here. They did this because of this. And and that's one of the things I love about watching, of course, your videos. You get this car, and then you seem to be able to get in touch with so many of these guys, or somebody who knew about the car or had a hand in the car. And that part's just as fun for me to watch as the actual, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this work here or there? So thanks for including that.
I just, when we started the channel, it was like, what do I love about, hot rods and customs and stuff. And one big part of it is the history or the stories. When I would buy an old car, I always ask them, where did you get it? Or how long have you had it? Or, whatever. So now it's like we've taken it a couple steps forward. So now I'm always chasing, I always have cars that I'm like trying to get, or, like a lot of us, you heard about this car this guy's had for 50 years and you're trying to get it, whatever. So that's the chase is just as fun. Yeah.
Well, and in the end, let's face it, a really nice 32 is a really nice 32. But if one of them has a cool story, it's just that much more interesting to be around, to hear about, to own. So yeah, it's a big part of it for all of us. So talking about that kind of stuff, what is your story? What was your first car?
I think it was actually like a Ford Bronco, which are actually kind of worth money now, which is funny. So yeah, and that was my first flip too. I bought a Ford Bronco for, I don't know, a few $100s, and then I sold it for like $1,000 when I was like 15. So, I started like flipping cars and stuff like right away. So that was my first car. I mean, I've mentioned on the channel a bunch of times I couldn't afford hot rods when I was in high school. So I got into like older German cars. And, when I was high school in my early 20s, I was doing the same thing, chasing old European cars. I was going to Europe and, going to junkyards in Poland and doing all that crazy stuff in my early 20s. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm going to make the jump. I had a couple 50s cars, and I bought a Model A carcass and started putting stuff together. And, and then eventually I just got so into the like pre-war type cars and, that I just kind of sold all my 50s stuff even and just focused on, 30s and 40s stuff, exclusively.
Yeah. Well, and you've had some very cool cars. You've been around over the couple of years. I've been paying attention to the video stuff. So it'd be interesting to see pictures of the old German stuff you had and see what style. Like, were you kind of like into the tuning part of it, or into more of the stock, just like a stock restoration kind of thing, or?
It's literally the same as I'm doing now. I find old cars with a neat story, or we're in an interesting place, and then I'd redo them, and I'd find old speed parts and and do them up. And I was hot rodding them, but they were old German and German cars. So it was a lot of same stuff, fabrication and doing all that kind of stuff, and lowering them, making them sit right, finding all the right original interior pieces and all that kind of stuff. So Nothing's really changed. It's just the cars are like older and harder to find and more expensive.
everything's it's been through a couple more decades of wear and tear. And,
yes.
And more rust holes in there. So okay, so the first vehicle was the Bronco that you bought and flipped, and bet you wish you had it now with the way the prices are on those things.
Yeah.
What was your very first speeding ticket?
Speeding ticket, man. Oh, I have. So I actually I don't remember my first speeding ticket, but one of my first big tickets, I actually didn't have a driver's license for like 10 years. I don't think I've ever said this like anywhere. This is like even on my channel. So I got a ticket for I was leaving a party and I did a burnout and like sped, and a cop pulled me over and he hit me with like a reckless driving, and I was like maybe 19, 18. I can't remember, but I basically was just a dumb kid. I'm like, fuck it, I'm not gonna pay that. Screw the man, And then 2 months later, I get pulled over, and they're like, yeah, you don't have a license. And then, I still drove modified cars for like 10 years. I just like somehow worked around the man, not. I did get caught some, but eventually, then I don't know, 7 years ago or something, I basically like got myself straight and got all legal and all that good stuff, and all my old fines and all that stuff. But like that was my first big one, and now I drive like an old man, kind of.
Tired of messing with this. I'm going to be going 54 miles an hour, not 55.
Yeah. That's why, and some people might say that's why I mess with flatheads now.
Right. I mean, I love flatheads. I love the sound. I love everything about them. But let's face it, you're not getting anywhere terribly quick. Even my
not
big
100 miles an hour.
Yeah, my big block 63 Ford. I love that car, but my 2014 Honda Accord will beat it in every performance spec. It's a 4-cylinder that will get 32 miles a gallon and still beat it in the eighth and a quarter, and it's embarrassing almost. But when I'm driving to Utah to go to a hot rod event, I can get 34 miles a gallon, or I can get 17.
Yes.
There's times to drive that old used car I bought. But yeah, on Flathead, the same kind of thing. It's you might be able to do a little burnout stuff and get that reckless driving thing again, but you're not going to get much for speeding tickets on most of these cars.
Yeah, not too much, but that's that was my first big ticket. That was kind of crazy, and I had many after that, but that was the big one. Is speeding and spinning the tires and all that stuff. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about the cars that are in the shop right now. I know you've got the project for your dad. Was that 46?
47.
47.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the story behind that, or is there much of a story on that one?
That one was I was doing some stuff on the channel where I was helping an older friend of mine by the name of Carl that lived only like a mile from my house. I had been trying to get into his place and buy stuff for years. He wouldn't sell me a nut or a bolt or anything. He would open some doors and kind of like tease you, but he would never sell anything. And then eventually, as years went on, he, one day I called him like I did every now and then, and he said, yeah, I think I want to start selling. So I started selling stuff, and then over the past, 3 or so years, and maybe 2 years, but his health started getting worse and worse, and he unfortunately just passed away not that long ago. But that car was his brother's car, and him and his brother in like the 70s had built it up, and they put a 302 in it, and got it like lot drivable, and then never finished it. And then his brother passed away. He inherited it, and then it just sat in his garage since basically the mid 70s or late 70s. And then when we were selling cars, he basically said, "Yeah, I think I want to let the coupe go." And he told me what he needed to get out of it because he would give me a little on top for selling stuff for him. And I brought my dad over to help dig it out, and my dad really likes 302. He's a small block Ford guy, and he kind of was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. It's got a small block Ford in it." And then I started thinking about the price was very reasonable. My dad kind of dug it, and my dad needed a car to drive when he's up from Florida in the summer because him and my stepmom only have they just have one car, so they share the car when they're up here. So when he's visiting the grandkids, they got to take turns. If she wants to go to the grocery store or something. So I said, why get a crappy, beater car when we could build you something cool. So I just bought it for my dad, and I said, we'll put it together and let him drive it for a while. So it's kind of neat because it's, one of the, I got it for my friend Carl, and he had some history behind it and never got to actually get it on the road. And I'm going to put it on the road and let my dad drive it, and it'll be kind of fun. So
that's awesome.
It should be a neat, that's one of those low budget cars. We're not doing anything fancy to it. It's just, we're gonna freshen the engine up with just a cam and some gaskets, throw it back in, and just give it a red oxide primer, paint job, and let him cruise it around like a high school hot rod.
Yeah. Well, I tell people for years, like if you can, like you mentioned earlier, if you can find something in some field, drag it home and make it drive, that's the place to start. If you have no other hot rod, that is the place to start. Or if you want to build a low buck hot rod, get something that it's kind of done, just needs some things prepared. It's just a so much better way to go than trying to go find your perfect car or think, I'm gonna buy this complete piece of garbage and build it in a perfect car. No, get something that's very close to running, get it going. Yeah. You're gonna enjoy your time a lot more. Take next winter and then take it off the road and fix the brakes, and then the winter after that, maybe you fix the body work or something. That stuff just. I try to convince people all the time that's just the best way to do things. Otherwise, you'll spend years working on something. You're going to lose steam, and someone else is going to buy your project almost done. It just happens all the time.
Yeah, and I always tell people too, it's way more fun when you have a driving classic car and you have that long-term project. If you get bored or overwhelmed with it, at least you can go cruise with your buddies or go to a show or drive something old. You're not the guy I have cool stuff in the garage, but I'm still driving my my F-250 everywhere I go.
I got both old cars down right now. It's like, I guess I'm going to have to take a daily driver someplace else again.
Yeah.
So what else is in the garage or in the shop right now? I know you've got the Shoal 32 that you've been working on. So it's behind you there. The latest episode was kind of taking that black primer off and revealing the old green color underneath. Looked like a lot of elbow grease.
Yeah, that car, I kind of had a hunch when we bought the car. You could see a little bit of the green. You could see the A-gasser on the door just faintly. Yeah. So I finally got a little bit of time, for a day or two, and I just dug into it, and it just came out really, really bitching. So I'm working on building headers today, actually, for it. So I'm going to be building some headers, fix the rust, and I'm hoping to have the thing maybe shaking it down by the end of the summer or fall. So I got that. I'm working pretty heavily on that. I got the Delorean Roadster, which we kind of talked about a little bit. Yeah. So I have that. That's kind of up to bat real soon. I've been gathering parts, and basically once I get the 5-window a little further along, then I'm going to probably dig into this real heavy. And same thing, get the frame blasted, do the sub rails, and just get that thing going.
Wasn't there 7 transmissions in the back of that car when you pulled it out of that building?
Yeah, there was 6 37 LaSalle transmissions in the trunk, plus a bunch of parts. So
that's a tricky question. How many could you fit in the trunk? Apparently it's 6.
yeah, and it also wrecked the trunk floor. I bet. Yeah, all that weight and then it getting wet and sitting all these years, it caved it in right there. So, I have the Delorean Roadster, so I'm going to be getting on that probably later this summer. Just starting on it at least, moving on that. I have the 33 3-window that I'm kind of putting together my ultimate hot rod.
Yeah, the blown Arden, right?
Yeah, that's got my blown Arden, the stuff in it, and I'm basically throwing all my best shit at that one. So, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it, on the right car. So. I just, that car is not moving very quickly just because it's you got to get all it's not just, it's, there's a lot going on, I got to get the right parts. I can't just buy I can't just put a Model A axle under that thing. I got to put a chrome 37 tube axle under it. And then I need chrome spindles and all that, so I got a lot of the stuff for that car. I don't think we've put the video out yet, but I raised the video. I raised the body up a couple inches so I could raise the engine a little bit. And I got these old chrome zoomy headers that came with the engine. So I was able to fit those on, and it literally looks like they came on the car, originally. So
yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Maybe it was on Instagram or something. I saw that. But you're saying you raised it up and it's just all everything came together and worked. So it's kind of nice when that stuff happens.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how the parts just kind of all fall together and you move some stuff around. I just call it big kid Legos, you know? So it's like you move the stuff around and you know, oh, I don't like that. All right, let me jack this around and move that. And next thing you know, you're like, all right, yeah, that's the spot. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, so now that I got that kind of figured out, I could start doing the same thing, building sub rails, building floors, getting the body kind of like solid again. And then I'm going to be sending the engine away to Ronnie Roadster up in New England.
Okay.
And he's going to be redoing the engine and the blower and all that stuff. He's kind of like the East Coast Arden Scott blower guru. He's a very, very well-known, respected guy, and I was very happy when I called him that he even knew who the hell I was. So I called him and I'm like, yeah, like kind of like a little kid kicking stones. Hey, sir, do you think I could I got this like Arden engine, and I start telling him, he's like, I know who you are. I watch your videos. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, yeah, you're like a legend. He's like, yeah, cool. I don't mind working on that thing. Just, let me know when you're ready. So I'm really psyched to have him working on that thing. And he's basically going to be like, what I have is basically what he has in his Roadster that he has like 100,000 miles on. So he's basically going to be kind of like a bulletproof kind of like turnkey engine that, I can actually drive the thing, which will be cool. I'm trying not to make this one so radical that I can't even drive it, so it'll be cool to have something that's, that's wild, but still very drivable on the street. And I can actually go far with it. And, cruise it around. So. Yeah,
the words blown Arden flathead and restraint don't technically, usually come into play in the same sentence, but I understand what you're saying there.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like levels of ridiculousness. Right. So like, we're not going like Top Fuel Dragster or Bonneville car. So we're going to be like just under that. So it'll still be like normal people wouldn't drive it, but
it'll be every decision you make going, is this too far? No, I think that's fine. I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah. It's not running on nitro or alcohol, so right. it's still straightable.
There you go. You've got was it Red 34 sedan that you kind of got together last year? This is on the shop.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The 34 sedan I got from the Troll Estate, and that is basically I've just been driving that. I spent pretty much the COVID lockdown reviving that car. So I just would go out to the shop every day and get something done on it. So that car is pretty much, I've been driving that thing like crazy and, taking it further and further. I've gone, hour plus from home each way, few hour trips and stuff like that. So now it's pretty much just driving it. It's got some odds and ends, but I'm just enjoying it. It's nice to have a car you can just hop in and turn the key. Like Kate and I drove it to Easter, the Easter breakfast with my brother and his kids. It was kind of nice to have something like that. So that one's pretty much good and done, other than some odds and ends. That one's pretty good. The 39 sedan that we rescued from the old junkyard. Yeah. I've been putting miles on that the past few weeks, so that's kind of like on the road. I'm just working out the bugs and shakes and rattles. So that's they're always the project, but those cars are pretty much like they're roadworthy. So they're as done as they're gonna get.
Right. Yeah, it seems to happen on a lot. If you have a couple of projects, like okay, this one runs and drives now, and let's go start working on this one, and then all of a sudden like, oh yeah, there was those 3 things I really need to do. Yeah, just never happen because it's always just hop in and go somewhere. Yeah, I've had a simple thing like a cigarette lighter that's under the dash, so I could put a Bluetooth thing and hook up to the stereo.
Right.
It should have been on a switch circuit. It's not. It's been 4 years, and I just have to every once in a while go jump the car because I forgot, and the thing's set on for a week and run the battery down. Like take me 30 minutes to go out there and just put a simple toggle switch in it, or switch it to a switched 12-volt source. No, doesn't happen. The car runs and drives. Why would I work on it when I have the other one to work on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I've kind of found a rotation because I have so many with the channel. If I can't do a video on it, it's really hard for me to get it done because I've got to be putting out content. So there's a lot of stuff that gets kind of left behind because it's like, 39. It's like you need to put all the like clips on the grill bars because they're broken, and I need to spend like a whole day and do that. And it's like, well, that's not a video. Nobody wants to watch you just put new grill bar clips on. Yep. So, you just drive around, you slowly start losing grill bars because you don't get around to it. So
need to find some one of those rare unicorn high school kids that wants to be into hot rods. Be like, okay, here's a project for you today. put these
Yes.
clips on.
Well, I actually, I kind of went the other way. I have a few guys that are like volunteering that are in the retired age group that are coming over and helping me 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And that's basically what I do. I have a guy, Jeff, that comes over Tuesdays. He was here today, and I said, hey, that's exactly what he did today. He was replacing grill bar clips. He put the little peep mirror back on the door like it had back in the day, and he blew all the dust and took all the junk out of the car so I could actually use the trunk. And so I have a few of these guys that are just want something to do because they're retired, and it gets them out of the house, and they help me out, and it's really great to have the help.
Yeah, that's a even better idea because they have a chance to know what they're doing versus some kids to teach everything to.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So when you've gone basically to full time, doing the Iron Trap Garage, and you've got so many projects, I don't think you'd ever need to do this, but do you ever see a time when you're like, hey, maybe I'll take on a little bit of work for somebody else just to have this video? I've never done anything about this kind of work before. Or is that kind of like, nah, I'll just keep to my own projects? Yeah,
I've kind of positioned myself where I don't have to take on other work. Because I just don't think I would be a good businessman. I don't want to say businessman. I get bored easily if it's not my own project, and so I think I wouldn't be good to customers because I would just be like, guys are like bugging you about what's going on with your car, and I would just get annoyed because I wanted to go to Detroit and pull a Roadster out of the building instead of fix your quarter paddles this week. So I've tried very hard not to take on other cars. Occasionally I'll help local guys or buddies out and weld something up, or I'll fabricate a panel just as like help. But I try really hard. We get questions all the time from people that are asking to do stuff. And while it is tempting, to get the extra money, I've found that if I can buy and sell parts and do stuff like that, it helps supplement the income, and I don't need to work on other people's projects. So I don't think I want to get into that.
It's a whole other hassle,
Yes.
If what you're doing is working and you're enjoying it, why add that stress to it?
Yeah, and I there's so many talented guys within like an hour or two radius of me that I would rather, pass the work on to one of my buddies that does have a full-time shop and give them the work, because they're going to service the customer better because that's what they're focused on, is doing customer work, and B, just I'd rather help a friend out or a local guy get that business. So I do that all the time. I forward work on to people just because I'd rather see them get it, and the people also feel good because they know if I'm suggesting that person, they're probably a pretty stand-up guy or a solid shop, and they do quality work. So, I'd rather reference a good shop like that. So that's the way I try and keep it. So.
Yeah. I had a question from earlier I forgot to ask about the channel. Has there been anything that surprised you about running that channel for 4 years, about like all of a sudden you look down and go, whoa, why did this video get all these views? And like you said, don't pay too much attention to it, but I'm sure once in a while you look and go, that one's got 10 times the views of anything else or something like that. Has there been any surprises like that to come out for you?
We always joke that like YouTube just like will randomly decide they want to like show your video to people. So like we have a couple videos that have a lot of views, like 1 million, 2 million views, stuff like that. And like the video would just kind of be steady, and then all of a sudden YouTube will decide they want to show it to everybody, and it'll start getting like 30,000 views in a day for like 2 weeks. You're like, it's a 2-year-old video. What's going on? Right. Like YouTube does weird stuff like that all the time. And like, it makes no sense, because we'll shoot like a kick-ass video that we think would like kill it, and it will like do horribly, and it'll be not horribly, but you know what I mean?
In comparison to those.
Yeah. Like we just did this video for the Gilmore Museum driving a Duesenberg around, supercharged cool. Duesenberg. And we put a lot of work into producing it, making it very professional and all the stuff. And it like, I don't want to say it bombed, but like, I thought a supercharged Duesenberg that the guy opens up the straight pipes is like, I thought that would be like, everybody would want to see that, but like it didn't do as well as we thought. So it just proves that YouTube, there's no rhyme or reason. People think that you could like figure out the algorithm or do this or that. Like I mean, in the end of the day, they kind of like, they just pick what they want to show people, and it is what it is.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I've got one video that I thought was doing really well until I heard you say you had a couple that have over 1 million. My 56,000 kind of sounds crappy now.
Nah, dude, that's good, man. That's like anytime you can crack 10,000 views, that's like, I mean, that's a lot of views. Yeah. So we've just worked really hard over the years. My big thing is consistency. So rather than have 1 million subscribers and we still only get 10,000 views per video, right. I'd rather have, I'd rather get a consistent 10, 20,000 views every video. And then, you got this core people that are watching and will watch everything you do. So that's kind of where we're at now. Like, a lot of channels you'll watch, they get like these spikes where they get one video that does really good, and then all their other videos get like 1,000 views. And it's like that. You can't like pay your mortgage or feed your family off that. Right. So we wanted to get consistency. So we know that our videos are going to about do the same. And hey, if one takes off and gets 100,000 views, well, that's a nice little bonus in our, in our YouTube payment. But like, we don't count on that. We'd rather just get the known, amount. So that's where the project updates, you get everybody people are hooked into like the build updates. And I treat it like old school forums, like the Ham or any of those back in the day. It's like, you go back and check to see what those threads, what the guy worked on. So that's all YouTube is to me, is just like modern day forums. I'm just updating my build thread. Yep. So
yeah, you just get to watch a little video versus try to decipher what somebody was typing sometimes. Like, is that what word did they mean there? So
yeah, exactly.
So are there any like Holy Grail cars out there for you still? I mean, you've got a lot of the Holy Grail cars for people, sitting within a couple of feet of you right now. So are there any that are still out there for you?
I definitely, one that I've been, eventually when I could get to it, I missed one, but I would like to have a Zephyr at some point. And I did a video. I went to Chicago not Chicago. I went to Southern Illinois to try and bid on a Zephyr at an auction. And fortunately and unfortunately, 2 days before I left to go on that trip, that 33.3 window popped up. So like I blew a bunch of my money on that car like 2 or 3 days before. Yeah. So I went to Illinois with not enough money, and I just wasn't, if everybody was sleeping, and maybe I could have bought it, but realistically I wouldn't be able to be a, competitor. So I'm happy with what I got, but I was up and close and personal with that car, and I was like, man, I'd love to have one. So I'd like to find, but again, I like find it on like as found kind of deal. So even buying it at an auction like that was cool, but I'd rather find it like we did the Stroll car, or the Delorean car, where like I actually get to be the first one to pull it out and touch it, document it, So that I joke about finding a Willys, but like I don't know, I like them, but I don't know if I'd want to build a gasser. And that's what like everybody, I feel like you almost have to build a gasser out of a 41 Willys or something. But
the only person I've seen not do one as a gasser was Jason Graham, who built one as a tail dragger custom. And it's gorgeous. But after he's done that, it's like, okay, he kind of did it perfect. I don't know that I'd want to take on trying to do it again. It's just going to be compared to that car. If there's 100 cars out there, you're not compared to any one of them that much, but there's one that's really good. So if you build it that way, it's like, okay, I hope I like it as much as I like that one when I'm done with it.
Yeah. So the Zephyr's one, I do want to find, I just like ridiculous goals for myself. So I would like to find something high end, like a Packard or a Duesenberg or something crazy. And I'm not saying it's going to happen next week, but like, I would love to somehow fall in the right shit that I come into something, an Auburn or something that I find for a good deal, that I find myself or whatever. Yeah. Because I think that would be really cool. And I know I would really piss off the high end car guys if some tattooed punk kid rolls in an Auburn or a Duesenberg that's like straight piped and fucking
hot rodded and
so
that'll be a fun day when that happens though.
Yeah, so that's my unrealistic goals, but I said I would love to find a 32 Roadster in a building, and it found it happened, so it could happen. You just gotta I always say put it out there in the universe and it comes back to you eventually. So we'll see.
So you guys you're doing something on the channel this year, and I didn't pick up on it last year, but the the challenge where you're basically starting with a set amount of money, buying some stuff, flipping it, and I've got so many friends who are good at that, and I am horrible. I lose money every time I try to do that. So what's the secret? Do you have a secret to trying to flip stuff, to finding a good deal and making some money on it?
Well, I mean, so the reason we started that challenge is because I get a lot of people. I kind of did it as a middle finger to the people that comment on our channel and say that I'm like some rich kid.
Right. They
like,
must be nice people.
You get the guys that don't know my story and they're like, oh, it must be nice to have daddy's money or, whatever. And it's like, I literally started with zero, nothing. So I like to show on like when we did the 2020 challenge, it was like, I want to show you how I've gotten all the shit I've gotten. It's like literally you start with something, a couple bucks, you flip it, you get more money, you reinvest it, and you keep growing and trading and whatever. So really the secret that I tell guys all the time is it's all about knowledge. You need to know more than the next guy at the auction, the swap meet, the pick, whatever it is. You need to be really well versed in everything you can in whatever you buy and sell. So like, I'm into hot rods, customs, that kind of stuff. But I try and also I also know a little bit about German cars, high-end stuff like Packards and things like that, So it makes it dangerous when you go somewhere that like, if I go to an auction and there's a shit ton of hot rod guys there and everybody's going after the 32 parts, well, I'll look over at like the muscle car stuff or the something else, and I know just enough to be dangerous that it'll go cheap. So I've done really well with that stuff. In the 2020 challenge, we had a funny video where Mike found a pick that was all like antique car parts, and we went there and like it was his pick, and he was buying stuff, and I bought a really rare Pontiac banjo accessory steering wheel out of the barn. And I paid like $20, and I sold it for like $1,300 or something crazy. And Mike was so bummed because it was his pick, and like I was kind of standing back and letting him buy stuff because it was his pick, and I at the end of the afternoon of digging around, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that steering wheel and some other stuff. And then I sold that wheel, and he's like, are you kidding me? And it's just, and that property, like 1 million people have been through there and picked. It was just that it's such a rare wheel that like your average guy wouldn't know. You have to really know like obscure steering wheels to know that. So that's really the rule, is just knowing more than the next guy. Cause you could go picking at a guy that knows this stuff, but if he might have that one weird little piece that he didn't know is as rare as it is, and you buy it for a good deal and you make a couple bucks. So it happens to me. I sell stuff sometimes to buddies that are like, they know like lowrider stuff a little better, and they'll buy it for me and flip it to a guy in California that is into the bombs or the lowriders, and it's like, I don't get mad about it. I just wasn't as educated on what's hot right now. Or whatever,
and knowing who to sell it to. Yes. Is a big deal too, because you could probably taken that steering wheel and gone to certain hot rod events and maybe been offered $50 for it, and then you find the right guy and he's like, oh no, I'll give you $1,300. So yes, yeah, that's a nice thing. I mean, with our channel, I have a sales page where I sell on Instagram like separately, and I list stuff for sale. And luckily, because of the channel, we have a lot of followers there. Yeah. So when I list stuff, it's like a feeding frenzy. Stuff sells really quick. And I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that's very true. Like other guys list the same parts for the same money, and it sells a little slower because they don't have the following. So we're very lucky in that sense, for sure. So the main Instagram channel is just Iron Trap. Yeah. What's the side channel with the parts on it? So the Instagram is Iron Trap Finds, FINDS. Okay. So that's like my page where I just list stuff that we find when we're picking. Okay. So I just list stuff on there, and to be honest, I'm actually quite reasonable on there. I sell stuff on there that like guys buy and flip themselves, because I believe that I buy stuff reasonable and I sell it fairly reasonable. So that's it. So I'd rather move the stuff along than sit on it and try and get the end of the rainbow prices, I say. Yeah. You can watch somebody go to the same swap meet 5 years in a row with the same too high priced piece. Yep. Like, man, that thing's heavy. You could have dropped your price by 50%, made good money, and not had to carry it back and forth for 5 years. So, yeah, I've seen that same thing here. So, well, man, I've taken up enough of your time tonight, and appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and be on the podcast here. And congrats on the new step. Going full time with the Iron Trap Garage. It's going to be very, very cool to watch how that goes going forward. If you ever come out this way picking out Kansas, let me know, and might be able to send you in the right direction a couple of places, or just send you a good place to eat.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely come out. I got to come out and say hello. Even for a good meal, I'm down.
Well, I'm not too far away from Mike and Cadillac, and I plan on having them on the podcast here in a couple of weeks. I think they've got a new episode of their show coming out too. So
yeah, those guys are great. They came out here and visited my shop, and I took them to a couple spots down in Florida and Georgia when we were down there. So it was a good time. So those are good guys. They're fun.
Yeah. Well, enjoy all that's coming with the new direction and everything. And like I said, thanks for being on here, and have yourself a good night, man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me. Have a good one. Catch you later.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
That was a really good time talking with Matt. I hope you enjoyed that little look into what it takes to put on the Iron Trap Garage YouTube channel, some of the cars that he's been rebuilding, and some of the story behind what he's been up to for a long time here. So the new element to the show with the last episode and this one is the video podcast I'm doing. So please excuse the little stumbles I have as I look at the screen instead of just talk like I normally do. So what's going on right now? I'll give you a little update on the last episode as the catch up. This episode, I'm going to tell you about what's getting ready to happen. In just about, 3 weeks from the time I'm recording this, I'll be at the Stray Cat 500 in Dewey, Oklahoma. The week before that, though, I forgot about that one. The week before that is the rescheduled Starbird show in Tulsa. Congratulations to Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes guest, my friend Chris Ryan of Ryan Rods and Custom of 96, South Carolina. He is inducted into the Starbird Hall of Fame. Is being inducted in Starbird Hall of Fame this year at the show. Due to scheduling conflicts, I just can't make it, and that bums me out terribly. So congratulations, Chris. Man, I'm really proud of you. And I really hope that I can be down there and catch up with you a little bit that weekend to say congratulations in person. So it's also show. I'll try to get down there for either Saturday or Sunday. I won't be there for the whole event. Just too much going on, and I got to get the Galaxy ready to go to this show. So I got a control arm to replace, and right now the car's 80 miles away. So I got to get the car here to my place, and then I've got to get it put on there. My buddy Randy from here in Newton said he's got garage space if I need to come over and work on it there. So that might just have to happen. Okay. So that's in 2 weeks. In 3 weeks is the Stray Cat 500, one of the best shows I go to. I was going to say the best, but that's not, I can't really, it's like rating your kids, man. I love all these shows so much. The Stray Cat 500 is, I call it a family reunion where you're just not related to everybody. And then for some reason, a lot of my family shows up. So it actually is like a family reunion a little bit. It's a great time. Tons of great cars. Really, really cool backdrop. And I think anybody who goes to it is going to have a good time. Also, that same weekend, though, is going to be a new swap meet put on by my buddy Dan Dolan up in Fort Collins, Colorado. So if you just do a little looking on Facebook, you'll find, I'm trying to do that while I'm talking here, do a little looking on Facebook, you should be able to find the information on that event. I know he's got it set up for that day. I think it's just Saturday only. And I'm going to look up here, see if I can find you the information for it. Should have done this before we started talking, but why would I prepare when I could just do this live? Okay. Fort Collins swap meet, May 8th, 7 to 2 p.m. Looks like it's going to be held at 1712 Wilcox Court in Fort Collins. So anybody in the Front Range area up there, slide over to Fort Collins and check that swap meet out. He's got an event set up for it called just Fort Collins Swap Meet, and you should be able to find that on Facebook and get all the information. Of course, the Stray Cat 500 has an event already on Facebook, so find all the information there. The weekend after that, I don't have any plans right now. We're kind of in a weird mode right now. Normally that weekend, I believe, is the Pete and Jake's open house, and I honestly have not scheduled anything besides a couple shows that I have to go to. Some of the shows that are kind of the bedrock of my schedule, those are on my schedule. The rest of it's kind of up in the air. My puppy is getting bigger, and right now he doesn't understand why Daddy's talking and not talking to him, so he's bothering me here a little bit. So we're going to definitely work on the KKOA for Salina this summer. I'll definitely work on being there. I'm not sure I'm going to do a booth because I no longer have the camper. So, and I didn't really sell all that much stuff at the booth. Really, the booth was just a place to be able to throw the camper in there and, take the grill. We could grill some burgers and didn't have to go wait in line for food. I don't know that it's really worth the money for me to set up a booth there anymore. We'll see how that goes. With having nothing really to sell but old product that people have already seen before, might not be worth it. The next big event on the schedule after that for me, I don't know, that's the end of July. I keep bouncing around. Early July, I'm hoping to go to Flaming Gorge Resort. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take the time off to go or not. That's just up in the air right now. It's a long drive out to Utah, so I hope to go out there for Woody's birthday and the 4th of July show and the whitewater rafting and the dam tour and the driving hot rods up and down the mountains. That's all a good time. So we're going to go to Louisville for work after the KKOA. That's going to be a nice week-long trip and a lot of work, but hopefully see a lot of you people there. After that, kind of laying low in August, and I don't know, Labor Day weekend, there's lots of options. Normally, Labor Day weekend, I have to choose between the Greaserama in Kansas City, which I love, the Invasion in Dallas, which I went to once, but I really had a good time. I'd like to go back. This year, the Lone Star Roundup is scheduled for Labor Day weekend, so the Invasion went and moved their event to new location, and it moved it to October as well. I think it's at a drive-in this year. I have to look the details up on it. That's going to be Labor Day weekend. Of course, the weekend after that will be another Stray Cat event, which is the Lead Ain't Dead show, held at the same location as the Stray Cat 500. So it's kind of nice to be able to go back to the same hotel. Everybody, it's just a hangout. And so it doesn't really matter the location. We have a good spot there, so it's a cool place to bring a bunch of cool cars and hang out and talk with your buddies. After that, things get busy. We have a ton of shows to go to at work. I know the week after that is probably going to be the Hot Rod Hill Climb. Can't go because we have an open house in Peabody at Affordable Street Rods, but we'll talk all about more of that stuff. We'll talk more about all that stuff later. Stumbling on my words. Awesome. Just want to kind of give you an update on what's the schedule for later in the year. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on. You may have heard some things I was kind of hinting at in the last episode. And I don't remember if that's the first take. You might not have heard that because I might have been the first take that I didn't use. But as we pay attention to what's going on in the world around us, you look at it, some cities in California are making it where you can't do big projects on your car. They want you to take it to a mechanic shop to do that, or at least to not a residential neighborhood to do big projects. That kind of legislation is probably going to be more and more. You look at the self-driving cars coming, and I don't want to talk about electric and all that stuff. Listen, there's times when I do want a self-driving car. When I'm going from Salina, Kansas to Denver, Colorado, driving I-70 with the cruise set at 75 mile an hour, because that's the legal limit, set at about 80 mile an hour, and the air set at 60 degrees, in the daily driver, I could care less if the car is driving for me. I mean, because it's just a long, boring stretch of interstate for 6 hours. But when it comes to my old cars, I want to drive them. And I can tell you right now, the more and more these self-driving autonomous vehicles on the road, whether they're electric or if they put the systems in gas-powered cars, I'm telling you right now, they're going to notice, because we've already proven it, that those cars per mile driven are safer than your average idiot driving cars. And what that's going to mean is eventually they're going to look at that data and they're going to say, you don't need to drive your own cars. All cars need to be self-driving. And what they'll probably end up doing is saying, well, self-driving cars cost this much in tax. And if you're going to have a car you drive yourself, you're going to pay this much in tax. I see it coming. And I've said this for 15, 20 years. I see a time coming in my lifetime where my old cars are either going to become just something you look at in the garage because you can't afford to actually drive them, or something that you can only take to a closed course like a racetrack and drive there. There will be no financially feasible way for the average person to drive an old car on the highway sometime in my lifetime. I see it coming. And I just really want to push you people to think about this. Think about this for who you vote for. And this is not a right versus left, Democrat versus Republican, because I think anybody who's too far into that is nonsense on either side. because all you ever do is say the other side's the problem, never looking at the problems within your own party. What I think you really need to do is think about the people that you're electing, not the parties. I think you need to go to SEMA and become a member of the SEMA organization, the Action Network. I think you need to reach out to your lawmakers and say, hey, this is something that we enjoy doing. You know, keeping an old car on the road is way more environmentally friendly, even though it gets worse gas mileage, than building a whole new car from scratch. Or, you know, there's probably stats out there that show that classic cars on the road are probably safer per mile driven than most modern cars on the road, because when we drive our classic car, we're actually paying attention, you know. Whereas if you're driving the new EconoBox that the new Corolla or whatever, I don't know if they still make it, 9 times out of 10, there's a chance you're fiddling with something on the dash or looking at your phone or something like that. Even we do it. I mean, even I do it. I get yelled at all the time from my girlfriend I'm on my phone. I try to only do it in areas where I can see that there's nobody coming. There's no place for a deer to jump out. And I've got the ability to, I look up, I look around, glance down at the phone, I look back up. Is it still illegal? Yep. Should I not be doing it? You're right. I shouldn't be doing it. Do I still do it? Of course I do, because we all end up messing with them and doing them. So, I just want you I want you to be thinking about, there's places like SEMA that have our best interests in heart when they're looking at these laws and rules, but they need us in order to make things happen. So please consider going to the SEMA Action Network and seeing what you could do to help form the laws in your state to allow us to continue to do our hobbies. That's not really what I was planning to talk about when I started this video, but that's kind of where my mind went. So that's where I'm going to stick on. I was going to complain about something that's not really that big a deal, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. Let's talk about something that's important, something that affects all of us here in the country and probably around the world. The chances are, and the trend is, that eventually our dangerous old cars will be legislated against and possibly outlawed. Might not be in 5 years, might not be in 10 years, but it's definitely trending towards that way someday. So for now, buy up all the cool old cars you can, fix them all up, get them on the road, find somebody who's kind of interested in them but doesn't have a car, take them for rides, get them encouraged in the old car hobby. Whether it's a hot rod, a custom, a street rod, a muscle car, whatever it is. I don't care if you find somebody who's passionate about restoring Pintos, don't bag on them, support them. You don't have to lie and say, hey, I'm really into that, but you can be like, man, I totally get how you're passionate you are about this, and it's totally cool to see you using that passion to bring old cars and put them back on the road. Yeah, even a Pinto. Yeah. Yugo, I'm not so sure about that one. I mean, there's only like 15 of those left, probably. They had to all just disintegrate by now, but whatever the old car is, I want to make sure that I say it to you, and I've been a part of the problem in the past. Let's not bag on anybody for what kind of cars they're driving, what kind of cars they're putting together. If they are passionate about the old car hobby, we don't have to love what they're building. We don't have to love the style they're building it in. But we have to support each other's passions in this car hobby. Because if we don't stand together on this stuff, and we don't bring more people into it, they're just going to legislate us out of existence. So that's all I'm going to say for now. Folks, we've got some shows coming back. The things are opening up here in the middle of the country. If you're on one of the coasts and things aren't opening up there yet, consider hopping in your car and making a drive out to the middle of the country. We've got plenty of room. If you want to move out here, Texas guys are saying, please don't move here if you're from California. Colorado folks probably saying that too. I'm saying here in Kansas, we've got lots of wide open spaces and land is relatively cheap. Just, room for big shops if you don't buy a tiny yard like I did. So get in your cars, go out there, drive, have a good time. Encourage other people to do the same. Stay safe, don't die, and I'll see you at a show. Thanks for listening to another episode of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. If you got to this point, that means you listened to the whole show, and I appreciate that. So I want to throw one thing out here. If you dig what I do with these podcasts, you dig what I do with RoyboyProductions.com, please consider going over to patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. That's where, if you feel like it, you can say, hey, you know what? I'll throw Royboy $1 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month because I appreciate what he does. Talking about myself in the third person sounds really weird. So, forgive me for all the weirdness here. If you dig what I do, please come over here and help support what I do, because it takes a lot of money to go to these events, to stay in the hotels, to buy this expensive equipment. All of my equipment is getting pretty old. So the podcast recorder right now is held together with just prayer. I think that's the only thing making it continue to work. And I will need to buy a new one at some point this year, and they're quite pricey. So I'm not trying to complain, just saying thank you for all the people who have helped me over the years by buying hats and shirts and stuff. I'll have new shirts out this year. And in the meantime, you can go over to RoyboyProductions.com, check out all the stuff I have there. If you feel like throwing a couple dollars a month at me, I really would appreciate it. It's patreon.com/RoyboyProductions. And I'll work out some stuff that the people who donate there get a little bit of heads up and get some stuff ahead of time. All right. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye now. Well, somebody's got to ride this dinosaur.